Hi, welcome back. Here we are starting off with Word Chapter 3, where we're going to be talking about how we can create and format tables that will enhance, basically the layout of our data in our document. So, starting with just this regular document here, and I'm going to go to the end by hitting Control N. As always, I have my nice little Show Hide button on because that tells me that I am, in fact, at the end of my document. Because I can see my carriage return markers there. That never gets old saying that, right? Okay, so I'm going to just type here and say Table 1 shows the total spending, and I can't type today, for this region. Oh my goodness, for fees and admissions to entertainment events. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to insert a table. And there's a couple different ways that we can insert tables in Word. The first way is we're going to click on the Insert tab. And my computer is being slow. And then in the Tables group here, I see where I can go to Table. And I see that little arrow, which means that there's always a drop-down list to pick from. So the first method we're going to talk about is how we can use this grid here to pull out how many rows and how many columns we want for our table. So by dragging across, you can see here it's showing a 4 by 1 table. That means 4 columns by 1 row. But I actually want to create a table that is going to be 4 by 7. 4 by 7. So I'm going to drag down here and go to a 4 by 7 table. Now we're going to learn later, if you wanted more rows than what shows here, that it's very easy to insert rows and columns. So we have 4 rows by 7 columns. And you can see here, because I have that little show hide on, and I'm going to turn it off just so you can see the difference, okay? With show hide off, I don't see those funky little symbols that indicate where each cell is in my table. That's what each of these boxes are referred to. They're basically cells in the table. I want to point out here this 4-headed arrow in the upper left corner. This is your table selector. So by clicking on that, my whole table would be selected, okay? And then I could just click, basically anywhere to get to a particular cell if I wanted to. So I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner of my cell, and I'm going to start typing in my table. And so the first thing I'm going to type here is age, because this is going to be a table where my heading, the first column, is going to be age. And then I'm hitting the tab key, and when I hit the tab key, it moves to the next cell in my table. And I'm doing that all the way across here as I'm typing. So I'm typing population, I'm hitting the tab key, and then this is going to be total spending. I'm going to hit the tab key, and you see what it does is it brings me down to the next row. So I'm going to be typing in all of this data, and I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me type this all in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, and then with the wonder of technology here, you don't have to watch me type the whole thing in, but instead it will all be in for me. But before I do this, I just want to point out that I'm typing commas in each of these numbers as I type them. You'll see when we get to Excel that's something you wouldn't do when you're typing your numbers in. But we do type them in exactly however it's shown. So here I'm typing the $sign for 512, and I'm typing the comma in as I'm doing each of my numbers. So this is 65,714,688. When I'm typing in numbers, I can either use the numbers going across the top of my keyboard, or I could hit the numlock key and use the numeric keypad on the right-hand side. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video now so that you can come back. Okay, so with the wonder of technology here, I now have all of my data typed in, and all I did was just type it in and hit tab, tab, tab to get from cell to cell. And just know that if you make a mistake, it's very easy for you just to click with your mouse and go back up and fix whatever mistake that you want. Okay, so decide here that I now want to have a row at the top of my table. So I want to basically insert a row above my top row. So I'm going to click here on my top row, and you'll notice that when you're in your table that you now have Table Tools Design and Layout tab. So here's the Table Tools Design tab and the Table Tools Layout tab. If I weren't clicked in my table, I wouldn't see those options, but I have to be in my table in order to see those. So clicked on the first row of my table, I'm on the Table Tools Layout tab, and I see here in the row and column that I have various options. By clicking Insert Above, you'll see what happens is it inserts a blank row above the row that I was sitting on, which was the top row. If I wanted to say insert a row at the bottom of my table, I could click to the bottom of my table and do Insert Below. Insert Left would insert a column to the left of whatever column you're on, and Insert Right would insert a column to the right of whatever column you're on. And then you also have the option of Delete, where you can delete either the table, the row, or the column. But we'll take a look at that in a second. So I'm going to type here in the first cell, I'm going to do Table 1, Consumer Spending. Okay, and really I want this to be across all of the rows. So what we're eventually going to do is we're going to learn in a next video how we can merge all of the cells in the top row together and then have this heading go across. But for now, we're just going to leave it in that cell 1. Okay, I want to point out here that you also have the ability, if you notice that while I was typing here, I went from 55 to 64 and then 75 plus. So if I were to click here, I could go to Layout, I could do Insert Below, and it would insert a row between here and here. Or I could click on this bottom row, and I could pick Insert Above, and it would insert a row above. But watch what happens when I move my mouse pointer over here to the left edge. See these little plus buttons that are coming in? So I'm on the left edge of my table between 55 to 64, 75 plus, and I want to insert a row here. So by moving my mouse pointer here and clicking the plus sign, that also will insert a row in that location. So now I can type in my missing data, which is 65 to 74. So that's kind of nice. So even if you realize that you forgot something, you can easily insert and delete columns and rows is basically the point here. Okay, so I'm going to finish typing this one in. Okay. So that pretty much concludes how we can create a table